Hey, Lon, I'm just curious how, just being around the team the last couple of days, just how you feel like they're responding, just to obviously really the first real rough patch of the entire season.
That's a good point. This group, they kind of, progressed to the point where, their expectations and the standard they'd set for themselves, was really high. So when you lose a couple in a row, three in a row, you're extremely disappointed. Absolutely. And they hadn't dealt with that for a long time. You're right. So, but they're appropriately disappointed. Still fired up about playing, looking forward to the next opportunity. At this point in the season, they all become like postseason tournament games. It's basically they are. You know, a huge opportunity, against Texas tomorrow night, and guys are fired up about it as they would be for any game, but last game of the regular season especially.
Go to Ryan Chapman for our next question.
Hey, Lon, so kind of piggybacking off that, the effects of the last two games were probably compounded a bit just knowing it is against Oklahoma State. Is there any extra sense of last game of the regular season, but it being against Texas, can that win do more in the way of turning things around because it is Texas than if it were just a win against name any other great team in the conference that's not, Texas?
Certainly, yeah. I think when you got a rivalry type game, that adds a little bit extra in all the areas. One of them being the last game of the year, kind of a springboard into postseason play in Kansas City. So absolutely, it's huge game. It's a very important game, one that our guys understand.
Next, we'll go to Eric Bailey.
Hey, Lon, all the years that you've coached, how much have you felt that sense of urgency out of seniors wrapping up their careers? And do you sense that out of the current roster that you have now?
Always to some degree, for sure. With seniors, they're winding it up. They're approaching at senior night now, last home game tomorrow night. That kind of hits them a little bit differently. Some groups more than others. We got four that play a huge role on this team, and when you have that investment and responsibility as a group of seniors, certainly you feel a little more significance in those late game situations or the last game of your regular season.
We asked you a little bit earlier, but can you just talk about your timeline about having conversations with those seniors about their future plans? Have you began those, or is that something that'll wait a little bit longer?
We'll wait until the season's over. Yeah, you have just occasional conversation in passing about how you're doing, but not anything specific about when the season ends related to next season or their spring and summer plans at all. So we'll sit down with every player on the team when the year is over and be a lot more specific and seeing how they're doing, how they're feeling, what they're feeling. Generally you've got an idea in your mind as to how guys are doing, but at that point, especially with the COVID year and the extra year of eligibility and the immediate eligibility going forward anticipated for next year, all those things are going to change the landscape in all programs in the country. I think way more than what we're anticipating at this point. It's going to become, kind of chaotic, and won't know what your roster really looks like until well into the summer, perhaps, because there's going to be, last year there's almost 900 transfers, and that was without the assurance of immediate eligibility. So you can imagine how crazy it's going to be this year.
Thanks a bunch. Good luck tomorrow.
You bet. Thank you.
Next, we'll head to Barry Trammell.
Lon, we're almost to the end of a season in which you coaches have gone casual. Suit and tie on the court. When the fans come back and things are sort of back to normal, are we going to go back to the suit and ties, or you think we'll hold on to this more casual look?
I think it'll be all over the whole range of possibilities, like a lot of other things. I think in society, when we get back to the new normal, is not going to look like it did a year ago. So I would imagine you'd have a lot fewer coat and ties, but I would imagine you'd have several that I would think might be 50-50 even, where in the past it's been 95.5. So I would imagine it's going to be a new normal look in that way too.
Which side are you gonna fall on?
I certainly like the casual feel, the comfort, the ability to move around, the ability to travel, and less concerned about wardrobe than you are the opponent. So I'll see how it kind of goes over the summer, but I would anticipate the more casual look at this point.
Do you think we ever got to the point where coaches dressed up?
Good question. I really don't recall it being any other way. When you go back, even as a player, everyone wore coat and ties as coaches back in the 60s, 70s. As to why, I'm not sure. It's who started it, why it started that way. I don't recall a time when it was casual. So sometimes it's one of those traditional things, I guess. And I can see that definitely, taking a change of direction to some degree for next year. Yep.
Then we have time for one more question for Coach, and for that we'll go to Joey Helmer.
Yeah, Lon, your starters played pretty extended minutes the other night. You talked about wanting to get Victor in there more, and Kerr only played a couple of minutes. Was that by design, or just kind of the way the game played out that your starters had to play so many minutes?
Just the way it played out. It's you go in with a little bit of an idea of what you expect to do rotation-wise, but then as the game unfolds, maybe the pace of the game, fatigue factor, see how guys are doing as the game's going. But we definitely need to get Londas and Victor in there earlier and get them in there more.